Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And I'm in a pretty good mood. I don't know if my energy level is full. I don't know if I'm on 100% there, but I'm in a good mood. Because for 4 nights in a row, we were at the box into the early morning hours, and LSU got it done on Monday night. We're talking about it over the next 2 hours. We'll do it with Glen West. 30 minutes from right now, Jay Johnson, head coach of the Fighting Tigers, who are moving on to the Super Regional round, going to be here in 1 hour at straight up 2 o'clock. We'll talk some Saints with Sharif Ishak at the bottom of the hour. So let's lock in the same way we do every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
That was a classic last night. Really was, for a lot of reasons. Obviously, we all think about it fondly today because LSU came out on the right end of it. It didn't always look like that was going to be the case. I'm sitting there in the press box. It's 5-1, and I felt like I was watching a rerun of Sunday night's episode. You got a bad start. Starters pulled early. Big deficit early in the game. Leave the bases loaded. He did that twice on Sunday. Jake Brown does it again on Monday, and the whole crowd was going nuts. You got the bases loaded, and nothing's going right, but you feel like, okay, let's make a push here. And then he pops up to left field, and the whole place, kind of the air comes out, and you're going, okay, this is not good. And you're now bordering on forfeiting your biggest advantage, which is the fact that you had Zach Cowan and Kason Evans, and they didn't. And Zach Cowan is coming out. And you handed the ball to Kason Evans, and he did what Jared Poche did against Rice on a Monday. He did, to an extent, what Devin Fontenot did in the Super Regional against Florida State. He took the ball in the middle innings and gave his team a chance. And this is the Kason Evans that had 2 starts toward the end of the year where he was asked to extend that did not go well. And he took the baseball and was just sensational. Fastball 94-95, but most importantly, the slider, and my God, it was unbelievable. I'm sitting there watching from the press box, and he gets 2 strikes, and I'm going, here comes a slider. Surely he won't swing right over the top of it again. Struck out 9 in a row. 9 guys in a row he struck out. And gave his team a chance. And then there's credit that beyond Evans goes to, one, the offense that finally found it against a brutally depleted and bad, I might add, Little Rock pitching staff. And then also credit to the crowd. Because it was late. It was Monday. It was the 4th night in a row of doing that. It would be easy to have been frustrated by what happened on Sunday and the way things started early on Monday. And the crowd was raucous and supportive and energetic. And that doesn't count for any runs, but it certainly helps. And finally, Ethan Fry comes through with the hit. Bases loaded, 2 outs, rips it into the gap in right center field. And I felt like that swing right there just lifted some pressure off of the LSU dugout. Because I've been in that dugout. I tweeted this during the game if you were following along. I've seen Stony Brook. I've seen Houston. Stony Brook is obviously super. Houston was a regional. But that's the recipe for the box getting to be uncomfortable, is the underdog striking an early blow, and then the LSU offense just kind of, for lack of a better term, it's something I use all the time, going in the deep freeze. A lot of weak contact, pop-ups, rolling over ground balls. Like, the box is always going to be in it if it's a slugfest. and one team scores 3 and the next team scores 3, like Ole Miss and Murray State were yesterday. The box is going to be in it for that. It's hard for the box to stay in the game when you can't create anything on offense. And for the last 8 innings on Sunday, LSU didn't do squat on offense. And it was looking like that early, and then Fry gets the big hit. And then Case and Evans made it stand up with just sensational work by a true freshman. And it felt like, because he had such a stranglehold on the game, that LSU was going to push ahead, which they eventually did, and they kept the pressure on offense, and they scored the 5th run in the 7th, and then they pushed ahead in the 8th, which Fry initiated with the double, and then he comes home on the Milam ground ball. And at that point, you think, okay, they've got the lead, this thing's over. And Little Rock just would not go away. They just wouldn't go away. And Evans looked like he was tiring, and he issued 3 straight walks, and Jay Johnson said, we're going to leave the kid in there. I'm sitting there looking at the dugout. There's a camera in the LSU dugout in the press box, and I'm seeing Anthony Ianson get ready to go. And Jay Johnson leaves Case and Evans out there, and he comes up with another strikeout. And I thought that was going to be it. He finishes the 7th. You've got the lead. He got the strikeout after 3 walks. That's going to be the end of it. And Jay Johnson sends him back out there for the 8th. And LSU's added to the lead at that point. They've got a 2-run lead. But he sends him back out there. And he gives up 2 straight hits. And then I thought maybe the play of the game, that I don't know that a lot has been made of, but I'm going to ask Jay Johnson about it in 55 minutes. They lay down a bunt, Little Rock does. And Case and Evans pounces off the mound, scoops it, turns, wheels, fires a strike to third, and gets the lead runner. Massive play by a high school shortstop who knows how to be athletic and play defense. Because most pitchers who are not high school shortstops are going to take that ground ball, collect themselves, and throw it to first, and then you got second and third.
So on the TV broadcast, they mentioned that you couldn't hear it on the broadcast, but they said that Luis Hernandez was yelling at him 3, just 3, 3, 3, telling him to throw to third because he knew he had a chance to get him. And
that's the kind, and that's great because obviously I'm not watching the TV broadcast in the press box. That's a question I'm going to ask Jay about that, but I'm curious what he thought about it, because that's a degree of difficulty on that play for a right-handed pitcher is very hard. If it's the left-handed pitcher, like it's Cade Anderson, he scoops it up with his right hand and he's looking at third base, and he can make that throw straight in front of him. Case and Evans had to field that ball with his back to third base, wheel, and throw, and that was just an incredible play. But again, Little Rock doesn't go anywhere because they go to Ianson and they hit the ground ball up the middle and they score the run. And they got another one in scoring position, and Ianson gets a strikeout, and then Reeves makes a heck of a throw across the diamond, just get the runner and retire the side to preserve the 1-run lead. And at this point, it feels exactly like Chapel Hill. I went from the early innings, it felt like Sunday night at the box. Now it feels just like Chapel Hill. Last year in Chapel Hill on Monday, you had Will Helmers come in and save the day, just like Case and Evans did. And in this instance, you had Case and Evans save the day. Helmers gave way after one stopgap to Gage Jump, who pitched on Friday. And you have to preserve a 1-run lead in the ninth. And then you had Ianson, who was going to have to come in and preserve a 1-run lead in the ninth until Jared Jones finally found the barrel. And I told you yesterday, I was like, I don't need Jared Jones to get 4 hits. I don't need him to get 4 hits. It's great if he can get 4 hits. Love 4 hits. What Ethan Fry did last night, we'll take that. But I just need 1 from the Bear. And this is a bad pitching staff, and they're tired. And I'm going back and forth from my seat into the radio booth. They've got a lot of stats in there, and I'm chatting with Doug and Buzzy and Chris. And every time somebody gets up, Doug gets the binoculars out and gets a number, and we check the stat sheet over there. And I'm going, and I start to look at the box scores. Well, he threw 62 yesterday. Yeah, well, he threw 101 2 days ago. Yeah, he threw 45 yesterday. I mean, every guy they got up had been overworked. And that's just the nature of this format with that type of team. Little Rock doesn't have anybody who's going to go out there and Cade Anderson it for 8 innings and eat up that. Everybody they put out there is going to try to get them 4 innings of work and give up 3 or 4 runs from Friday all the way through Monday. So everybody's pitched 3 times, and they continue to go to the bullpen and continue to get a new guy to send in there. And I'm thinking at some point, Jones has got to square one up. And he did. I mean, he just hit a missile. And Jay Johnson had a huge reaction in the dugout, and the dugout went nuts, and the box lit up, and they added the 3 runs to give the insurance to make it not like last year at North Carolina, where you had a 1-run lead in the 9th and couldn't quite hold it, and you had to go to extras. Instead, you had a 4-run lead, and Ianson's able to nail it down. He didn't throw too many pitches in the game. I want to get that pitch count from him, 20. So it was a great, great win from LSU. Now, I'm going to do something here to illustrate kind of my feelings on the deal. There's 96% of me that is just Hunt from Shreveport who loves LSU's baseball team as much as anything. And then there's 4% that has to sit here and be a professional radio guy. So I'll give you this segment as both of those people. I'll split it up. The professional radio guy will go first. What a huge hat tip to Little Rock. They were incredible. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, incredible. They had gutty pitching. Their shortstop is making plays all over the left side of the infield. Backhands in the hold. Even the ground ball that scored the go-ahead run for LSU when they were in the shift, he makes a ridiculous play to make that play. The center fielder, Henry, is running down everything. He's Willie Mays out there. Cano is Mike Trout. They were just unbelievable for 3 days and gave LSU all they wanted. Aside from the one error that LSU made and the walks, which were a big deal, it's not like LSU just Little Rock went and took this thing. It was remarkable to watch a 4 seed who is that far under 500 play the way that they did. And they deserve a ton of credit as a coaching staff and as a team for that kind of performance. All right? There's Hunt Palmer, professional radio guy. Here's Hunt Palmer, the 96% of me that's just a big LSU baseball fan. I was sick of watching Little Rock play like the Dodgers. I could not believe these guys who lost 13 of 14 to end the regular season, who were 8th place in the Ohio Valley, just play out of their minds for 48 hours. Angel Cano went 0 for 3 on Friday. 0 for 3. Do you know what his season-long batting average was after that? 213. This man was hitting 213 in the Ohio Valley. He looked like Brad Cressy out there. Missiles everywhere. Home runs off the scoreboard. He's taking a Chase Shores 100-mile-an-hour fastball, hitting a missile into the corner. Evans is just dotting everything up. His last at bat against Evans, he takes 2 sliders down and then rips it into right field like he's playing for the frickin' Cubs. It was unbelievable, and I know these guys have not done this all year. And they're sitting there, as I'm sitting in the box, about to end LSU's season because they're out of their minds for 2 days. I was beside myself. So that's the 2 ways to approach that. Beck, did I handle that properly? I gave you the professional answer first with the hat tip. Wonderful job. Credit to the coaching staff. I was sick of watching it as a fan. I could not deal with it. Yeah, that catch that Henry made on the Stanfield ball about sitting me out of the press box.
He wasn't that close, but he almost climbed the wall on that Jared Jones home run. He was not that far away from robbing Jared Jones' home run.
I tweeted this out too. I use too much of my material on Twitter instead of on the actual show that I get paid to do. It felt like I was watching Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
Where there's like a divine intervention that's saving this Little Rock team and allowing them to hit the ball that they would never hit and catch the ball they never. This shortstop is going in the hole throwing seeds across the diamond for 2 days.
I texted my buddies that they're like the Monstars from Space Jam. It's like they stole the talents from somewhere and just got it, and they had it for this whole weekend.
Goodness gracious, man. But LSU did enough. It's what LSU usually does. It's the way these regionals usually work out. And I did say on Thursday, Like these things, despite what a draw might look like or what LSU's team may have played like, it's just rarely easy. It's just rarely easy. And it's not easy when LSU's playing Sam Houston with the National Pitcher of the Year on the mound in 2013. And it's not easy when you've got a national championship team like 2009 squad that's got to go extra innings against Baylor. It's not easy in 2023 when the rain comes and Ty Floyd's got to sit down and Thatcher Hurd's got to go and you're tied in the 8th inning. And in this case, you lost a game to a 4 seed for the first time in the history of the program in this format. But ultimately, LSU usually wins. And they did last night. It was exhilarating. It was fun. And I will say something here. I pulled up my computer this morning. I fired up YouTube and I had some suggested videos. And one of them was the Texags radio feed over in College Station, which, by the way, they do a great job. But their thumbnail for today's show was a picture of Mike Elko, and it said biggest question marks. And I stared at that and I went, it is June the 3rd. They don't play for 2.5 months. If I had to do biggest question marks on LSU's football team to lead my show today, I would be crestfallen. I'll be fired up, beyond fired up, to do that on August the 13th. Can't wait. Great time of year. Not right now. This is postseason baseball. LSU needs to be in it. We need to be talking about it. There's energy in the city. There's energy in the fan base. There's going to be energy in the box this coming weekend. And there was a time there early in the game where it looked like we were headed for the summer. And this group pulled out of it, and it was big performance by them. It wasn't all great, and I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. But last night was a classic, and LSU did come out on the right end of it. They're the Baton Rouge Regional Champions thanks to some quality play and a favorable draw. And now it'll be West Virginia and LSU from the box this coming weekend. That's our Genesis opening drive here on a Tuesday. We'll come back. Zach Cowan wasn't great. What does that mean moving forward? It's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team are just phenomenal folks to work with in the insurance industry. I know that insurance is not the most interesting topic. It's not the thing that business owners love to talk about the most. But it can be vitally important. And if you're an insurance broker, if you're a business owner, a CFO, risk manager, and you haven't been presented with captive options, I strongly recommend you reach out to the Highland Insurance Group. They've got commercial property and casualty as well as group benefits in their captives. And if you're paying a ton and you're not being presented the option of a captive or don't know what that means, reach out to the Highland Insurance Group. It could be a game changer financially for your business in terms of your risk management. You've got to fit in and qualify. But if you do, it can be an absolute game changer. And I think, as someone who is now out of insurance, but I think it's the future of insurance. And the Highland Insurance Group handles these things all the time. So reach out to Jonathan and his team. Say, I heard Hunt talk about these captives. Can we sit down and have a conversation about that? They'd be happy to. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online. HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chat with Glen West in 10 minutes. Jay Johnson at the top of hour number 2, right up 2 o'clock. We'll chat with the head coach of the Tigers. LSU wins last night, and it moves on to the super regional round. The disappointing part of last night, obviously, was the start by Zach Cowan. I was completely fine with Cowan getting the start. I said yesterday I thought Evans would start because he has, but if you dive deeper, like Kason Evans' last 2 starts were not great. He was really good against Tennessee. Not as good against Arkansas, and not as good against Texas A&M. And so I understood Cowan's been a starter. You know, and I use air quotes because I said this yesterday on the show, he's going to throw strikes. And obviously the issue Sunday, you walked 11 guys, 8 of them scored. You want to be sure you're throwing strikes, and Cowan's going to throw strikes. But Zach Cowan's now not getting people out. And I've got the numbers here. And this is over his last 5 outings, which is the 2 bad outings in College Station, the bad outing in Columbia, South Carolina, and then last night. 6 2/3 innings, 14 hits, 12 runs, 11 of those are earned. That's an ERA of 14.85. He has 5 strikeouts and 5 walks in those 6 2/3 innings. In the 40 previous innings to that, 5 earned runs allowed total. So you're talking about a guy who was dominating the SEC and the non-conference for basically 12 weeks, 10, 12 weeks, and now is really struggling. And I don't have a great reason for it. I thought that I've told you this a bunch of times. I thought A&M put 2 really good swings on decent pitches. I thought he made bad pitches against South Carolina, and last night there just wasn't a lot of bat missing. I mean, he missed a little bit. You look at the line, had 2 walks in an inning and a third. He got 4 outs and walked 2 guys. Gave up 3 hits. You know, they were hitting the ball hard at times, and one was a blooper that fell in. But this is a guy that you were building your pitching staff around. It's Anderson and Ianson, and then it's Evans and Cowan. That's how LSU was winning series early in SEC play. And as phenomenal as it was to see Case and Evans emerge and get huge outs on a huge stage last night and feel like you can potentially trust him to start games when you get to crunch time, if it's a game 3 of a super, you get to Omaha and you need a third starter, that's great to have Case and Evans available to start. But now you're talking about not having a bullpen option to go to. Because this weekend, Zach Cowan was bad. And then on Sunday night, Chase Shores walked 3 guys in an inning. And Jacob Myers walked 4 guys in an inning and a third. And you just don't know what you're going to get from these guys game in and game out. And when I could for sure count on Zach Cowan, which was the case a month ago, I don't have any problem with Case and Evans starting a game because Zach Cowan can come in and close it. But now, if you go to the 8th inning and Anderson's thrown 117 pitches and it's 3-1 and you've got the lead and you've got to get 6 more outs in game 1 of the College World Series, let's call it that. Who are you pitching? Are you going to go to Cowan? 4 of his last 5 outings are not good. Are you going to go to Evans? Well, he probably gives you a better chance to win that game. Who's going to start? Can Shores do that? Are you going to go back to Newt? He wasn't good this weekend. You're out of time to tinker. That's what April and May are for, to see how guys respond. The good news is, if I can cherry pick and I can get the Jaden Newt and the Chase Shores that I saw in Hoover that were awesome against a good Ole Miss lineup, well, that's awesome. If I can get the Maverick Rizzi that we saw in the game, let me make sure I got that right. The Maverick Rizzi that we saw in the game on Friday, it was when they beat Little Rock, and he struck out 2 in an inning and he was throwing 100. If I get that, well, that's great. But if I get the Maverick Rizzi that we got on Sunday where he's walking people, well, that's not good. You have got such an incredible force on this roster with Anthony Ianson and Cade Anderson. And you've got a lineup that, while at times has some inconsistencies, has immense potential. And you're great on defense. Great on defense. They made 1 error this weekend. Bad time, 5-run inning. Looked bad because it was a 2-foot throw. But you've got so much good at the core here. But you need some of that ancillary to fill in. And let's be clear, there was no evidence in 2017 that Caleb Gilbert could go out there and just shut down Oregon State for 6 innings. There was no evidence in 2023 that Nate Ackenhausen could go out there and start a game against Tennessee in the loser's bracket and just dominate them. Some of that stuff just happens in the postseason, kind of like what you saw from Evans last night, although his track record is better than those 2 guys were in those 2 seasons. So some of it is just kind of whatever happens that day. Griffin Herring did something very similar as a freshman in Omaha in 2023. And you might just have to throw him out there and see if you get there. But I'd really rather it be a little bit more dependable than that than feeling like you're just grabbing in and pulling out a lottery ticket and hoping that's the one this day. Because, it's not like that. I'm not going to distant memory to pull these out. I'm going last week, SEC tournament, Shores, Newt, awesome. Rizzy, awesome. This past Friday, Rizzy, awesome. But also in that bag is a bad start from Cowan and a bad start from Newt and a loss of control from Myers, who was awesome in the SEC tournament. And there's still part of you that's got to trust Cowan to get some big outs because someone has to get them. But if you're looking back at 4 of his last 5 outings, it's like, it's not great. So that's the concern that has arisen from this past weekend. There's a lot of good. Milam got out and started cooking. Curiel started cooking. Jones hits the big home run. Fry's busting out. Your defense is really good. Anderson and Ianson are great. Case and Evans. There's a lot of really good stuff. But if we're analyzing this whole thing and you're trying to talk about championships, because if I'm sitting here today and I'm Miami, who hasn't won anything of significance in 25 years, I'm just pumped I got out of the Hattiesburg Regional. That's freaking awesome. Let's go to Louisville. This is great. It's sunshine and rainbows there. But here, we're talking about winning a championship. We're talking about winning a super, going to Omaha, and flying an 8th flag here. And so you got to talk about this at a championship standard. And at times, the rest of the staff behind the 2 stars, who are stars just about every time you toss them out there, it's amazing. You just don't know what you're going to get. And it's wild that it's like a second year in a row that you've had all of these options and you haven't found a third starter and you haven't found enough bullpen guys that you really and truly trust. It's not that none of them are there. I'm saying, these guys have really good outings over the last 3 weeks. They also just have duds. And you never know when those are coming. And if you catch one at the wrong time, it can end your season. So that's a concern. But truth be told, it's probably a situation that if they can get through the next weekend, if they can beat West Virginia in the box, and nobody's come here and won a weekend yet, if they can do that, probably going to be a deal where you just got to hope in Omaha that you get the Ackenhausen performance. You got to hope that you get the Herring performance. You got to hope that you get the Caleb Gilbert performance. That's what it probably comes down to. We'll see. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. But I'd be derelict to my duties if I didn't point out that there were some guys that took the ball over the last 48 hours that didn't do a very good job. Thankfully, they eventually got the ball to someone, whether it was Cooper Williams on Sunday, who was awesome, or Kason Evans and then Nancy Ianson yesterday, who were awesome. They got it done. We'll talk about it all with Jay Johnson half an hour from right now. We'll take a timeout. Come back with Glen West next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Four straight late ones at Alec Box Stadium. Tigers advance through the Baton Rouge Regional. We're talking about it today. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Glen West there for all of it over the last 4 days at the box. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, you going to go hang out until 1 o'clock in the morning at the box tonight, or are you going to blow that off?
I'm gonna take a little bit of a rest from Alex Box for the next couple days, and I'm sure a lot of fans are in that same boat. They're I'm sure excited for Super Regional ball, but I'm just glad LSU is going to get a 1 o'clock game and a 5 o'clock game this weekend.
I was super pumped when I picked my phone up and saw that notification this morning that LSU was playing in the afternoon, an early evening as opposed to the 8 o'clock start.
Yeah.
How were you feeling at 5-1 yesterday? Did you feel like LSU's better, they're going to come back, or did you think this may be it?
No, I was definitely on the ropes. I'm sure you kind of had this feeling, I'm sure, in the stadium too, but it was very tense. I mean, you didn't even need a knife to cut the tension there when they went up 5-1 in the second inning and just laid a huge punch at LSU right out of the gates. And so I think, look, the first couple days probably lulled me at least into a false sense of security with this team. But with this weekend and what Little Rock was able to do the last two games of that series, I just don't think any of this is going to be easy the rest of the way for LSU, however long they're in the tournament. It's going to be a slugfest. I wouldn't be surprised by anything, the way that this regional played out and just how, I guess, well, LSU played at times, but also how many mistakes crept up on them as well and how inconsistent they were in those final couple games.
Yeah, I think that's probably my next question. It's like, do you feel like LSU deserves just a lot of credit for their toughness and for crawling back and for winning the game? Or do you feel like it just showed some cracks in the armor?
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix of both because, look, I mean, LSU doesn't come close to winning that game if not for two players, Kason Evans and Ethan Fry. And, Luis Hernandez had a nice couple of home runs there to really kind of help put LSU over the top. Jared Jones came on late for them. But they're not in this game if not for those two players. And honestly, when two players are the reason that you win a regional or a reason you win a game like that, I don't know how there couldn't be cause for pause, at least, just on how you're going to need everybody to kind of help you through this thing over the next couple of weeks. And so that there's going to have to be some guys that step up and play better than they did this weekend. Certainly, you don't like the fact that, really three pitchers kind of carried you through this weekend. I guess you could throw Cooper Williams in there too. He was pretty good in his relief outing, but you're going to need more than four guys to get you through the next couple weeks. And so for the bullpen guys and some of those players that had been coming along pretty consistently towards the end of the regular season and into the SEC tournament, to kind of have a step back there was a little worrying, but you just hope that those guys can find the strike zone, and offensively you just got to hope that they can kind of cut out some of these really easy weak outs. I mean, there's just been a lot of fly ball outs, a lot of just guys getting under the ball and getting out of their plan a little bit too inconsistently. And so it was good to see them score in 5 of the last 7 innings there against Little Rock and put that team away. Major credit to them. They gave LSU 2 really big jabs there. And luckily for LSU, they were able to find some offense late to kind of advance their chances here in the tournament.
Let me paint you a picture. Saturday, Cade Anderson starts the game. He throws 118 pitches. He comes out after 7 innings, and LSU leads 3-1 going to the 8th. Who pitches after that?
I would probably go to Kason Evans, to be quite honest with you. I just think that you want to get off. The last thing you'd want to do is lose a game like that in close fashion. I just think you would go with your best next option, and that to me would be Kason Evans. And if Evans gets you through that game, that gets you into Ianson the next day. And look, any game that Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson are pitching, you're going to have a chance to win. And so if you have to burn Evans in that first game, then that's perfectly fine by me. I know it would be 5 days rest. Would that be 5 days rest for Kason?
You would rest Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that's 4.
Yeah. So 4. So maybe that would give me a little bit of hesitancy, but I would just want to throw my best guy, and he's been your best guy out of the bullpen all season long, and he showed that again this weekend.
That means, where does that Cowan fall for you right now?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been a struggle for him these last couple of weeks. He's had, I think one good outing here in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but, he's had a couple duds as well. And for a guy who's, kind of big arsenal is throwing the ball over the plate for strikes and landing and hitting in different parts of the strike zone, he just hasn't been able to do that as consistently the last couple of weeks. So you still got to ride with him. I mean, I still think he's going to throw major important innings for LSU this weekend. But you just got to hope that he can find the strike zone a little bit more consistently and hit his spots, because that's really what his game is predicated on, is getting low with the strike, the strike zone, and using that slider, using that changeup mix to really throw hitters off. And he's just not landing those right now. He's keeping it up a little bit high in the zone, and so teams are hitting him a little bit. And then he's also, leaving him outside the zone for some free passes. So he's one of those players that you got to hope can kind of get it together for you here over the next couple of weeks.
I can't swear by this number. I wrote it, and I can't remember what I wrote this morning, but I think Curiel and Milam got on base 23 times over the course of the weekend. Yeah. How big is that?
They were great for him. I mean, they were probably the most consistent guys for LSU throughout the weekend. I think you could maybe throw Ethan Fry in there. He had a couple really good games, but also had a couple duds. But those two, Hernandez, Fry, those guys really kind of carried you through. Dickinson had some really good at-bats, but for Stephen Milam in particular, for him to kind of get going, and you kind of saw some inklings of it there towards the end of the SEC tournament that maybe he was starting to figure it out. When Jake said it yesterday, when he's swinging the bat like that, it's the best version of Stephen Milam, and what he's been able to do for LSU defensively is nothing short of sensational. He's been probably one of the best defensive shortstops LSU's had statistically in recent memory. Like I can't remember a shortstop that has played as consistently as he has at that spot defensively. So for him to also be getting the bat together now at this time of year, I think is massively important for LSU's offense and their team.
This is not your beat, but I'll ask you the question anyway. What will you remember about this Little Rock team?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of the great stories that we've had in covering college baseball. I mean, they were just on top of their game plan every single week or every single game in this weekend. LSU kind of jumped out on there in that first game, and you could see it on the coach's face and on the player's face that they just were not going to lose any kind of confidence because of that. Like they had, they came in with a game plan and they were able to really get hot at the right time of the year. I mean, I think it's just one of those extra examples of, it's not about who the best team is. It's about who's getting hot at the right time. And Little Rock did a phenomenal job of obviously taking out Rhode Island and DBU, and to take LSU to task really there in that Sunday game was really, really impressive. I mean, they really had LSU on its heels there for the first 13, 14 innings of these last couple of games. And it really took a Herculean effort by Case and Evans to kind of get LSU through that. So major props to them. And that's just, you listen to I would implore people to go listen to their coach talk about their team after the game. Got very emotional a couple different times, but you can tell that program's in really good hands.
I'm going to go to bed at like 8:45 tonight, so I don't know what your plans are, but I'll see you at the box on Saturday.
I might beat you to it. I might crash out at 7:30. I don't know, man. It's been a late last couple nights. It
surely has. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you up there this weekend.
All right, thanks, son.
Glen West, Go 24/7. Looking for team coverage. Glen's got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Sonny Ship was with us yesterday, part of the team over there as well. They do phenomenal work, and we appreciate Glen giving us some time here on this Tuesday. We'll chat with Jay Johnson in 15 minutes. We're closing out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. That means you can check out the entire inventory right there at the touch of a button. And it shows your pricing, gives you all the features. You can read about every single model in the line. And if you see something that piques your interest and you think, now I got to go to the dealership. One, you shouldn't feel that way because the dealership's phenomenal to go to. It's an incredible facility and the staff's sensational. But if you would rather just do your shopping from home, it's kind of the age we live in, you can do that. Just contact Genesis of Baton Rouge via GenesisofBatonRouge.com and say, hey, I'd like to test drive. They'll come to you. They'll come to your place of work. They'll come to the house. And you can get behind the wheel of one of their brand ambassadors, and they'll show you around. You've probably never been behind the wheel of a Genesis. That's the odds at this point because they're fairly new to the game. Make that change. Get behind the wheel. Test drive it at your convenience and see the difference. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
One, forward to our conversation with Jay Johnson in 10 minutes. He's probably got a busy day afoot as the transfer portal's open, and I can guarantee you he's on the phone. But he's going to take some time with us in 10 minutes. Looking forward to that. Also, looking forward to covering LSU and West Virginia this weekend. We'll have a lot of content up at LouisianaSports.net. Before I get to writing about LSU and West Virginia, I'm probably going to write a column for tomorrow morning about the people on Twitter over the last 72 hours who are seemingly taking 25 years of data where the SEC has taken a dump truck to the entirety of college baseball and just dominated. And they've thrown out that 25 years of data, and they want to just point at 72 hours of baseball games and go, see, the SEC's overrated, told you. Doesn't quite work like that. Did you see the championship series last year? It was Tennessee and A&M. Did you see the bracket last year in Omaha? There were 8 teams, 4 from the ACC, 4 from the SEC. How many of those games did the ACC win against the SEC? I'll save you the time. It was none. None. 0. What was the championship series the year before that? It was Florida and LSU. What was the championship series the year before that? It was Ole Miss and Oklahoma, who's now in the SEC. Well, what about before that? Well, it was Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, 2 teams from the SEC. This is not up for debate. If you're jealous because you never win anything and you just feel the jealousy and you have to make a point about it, and you're going to take a Florida loss to Coastal Carolina and say, see, look, they're not any good. You're going to take Georgia losing a game to Oklahoma State where they give up 2 2-run homers in the 9th inning and go, see, they're overrated. They're not any good. You want to take Texas season because UTSA goes in there and beats them twice and go, look, that's an overrated team. And you want to try to boil the entire conference down to an overrated bunch of slop because a lot of teams lost 2 baseball games over the weekend. You can do that. You're just going to look like an idiot. Because there's 25 years, not just LSU blitzing everybody in the 90s, not just South Carolina going back-to-back. We're talking about Vandy winning multiple national championships. We're talking about LSU winning multiple national championships. South Carolina winning multiple national championships. Florida winning 1, playing for another one. Ole Miss winning 1. Mississippi State winning 1. Tennessee winning 1. A&M playing for 1. This is the whole league. What's the ACC doing? You got Virginia hoisting 1 trophy? What's Florida State got? A whole bunch of nothing? Miami's been irrelevant for decades? Just because you're rooted in complete and utter jealousy and it drives you nuts when teams talk about the SEC, when broadcast teams talk about the SEC in glowing terms, and you don't like that because your team or your league doesn't win very much, you just look like an idiot. And trust me, this is coming from a guy who hates everybody in the SEC. I don't want any of them to succeed. I was pulling for all the ACC teams last year. But the fact of the matter is they're not good enough to win it. And guess what? If you ask me to bet whether an SEC team or someone else wins the national championship this year, I'm taking the SEC team. If it's not LSU, I hope I'm dead wrong. I got no interest in Dave Van Horn bringing a trophy back to Fayetteville, and I have less interest in Tony Vitello winning 2 in a row. Promise you. But the Twitter's just ablaze over the last 2 days, pointing and laughing at the SEC. It's 1 weekend worth of baseball. Act like you know anything. The SEC has and will continue to dominate this sport. There's a reason why Tommy White sets the national freshman home run record and leaves to go to LSU. There's a reason Jacob Berry wins National Freshman of the Year and leaves to go to LSU. There's a reason Gage Jump is supposed to be in UCLA's starting rotation and leaves to go to LSU. And I could point to guys all Hurston Waldrop leaves Southern Miss, goes to Florida. Zach Root leaves East Carolina and goes to Fayetteville. Billy Amick leaves Clemson, goes to Tennessee. Like, I could go on forever. It's the best league. It will continue to be the best league. And if you don't like that, that's okay. But you don't have to look foolish on Twitter because Ole Miss lost to Murray State, so the whole league is overrated. It's not. Check Omaha every single summer. Their SEC programs getting mail up there. They're there so long in the summer. I don't like Kevin O'Sullivan at all. His baseball program is better than yours, whoever you are. So that just drove me nuts, not because I want to defend SEC teams. I don't have any interest in defending SEC teams. I want them all to fail. But I'm losing that battle because they don't. They go to Omaha and win. And LSU is on the precipice of going to Omaha again. And guess what? When they get there, they're playing an SEC team in the first game, guaranteed, because that's who shows up there. Trust me, I'd much rather play UT San Antonio. Wake had a great team 2 years ago, no doubt. There are good players elsewhere, good leagues elsewhere. Are those leagues even close to as good as the SEC? They're not. In 1 weekend of baseball, the most underdog-inspiring sport that we play certainly does not diminish the reputation of a league. That's just a foolish way to look at it and play gotcha for clicks on Twitter. It's not going to work for me. So there's my take on it from a radio perspective. I'm going to put it with some statistics that I can go look up to paper for LouisianaSports.net coming up for a column that I'll write tomorrow. Had to get that off my chest because it was way too prevalent on Twitter. That's it for hour number 1. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand. Fired up to chat with LSU head coach Jay Johnson. We'll get some national headlines from SportsCenter and then come back for hour number 2, and the head coach will lead it off with us. Come back. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I tell you a couple times a week, the bathroom can be a hazardous place, especially as folks age. If there is someone in your life who wants to stay at home, but you feel like may be in some peril or could have a hazardous situation in the bathroom based on slip and fall, do what you can to mitigate the risk. You cannot take the risk away. We know that. But you can put in non-slip floors. You can put some handrails in around slippery areas. You can do a walk-in tub that's more convenient. It's safer. You can do a shower with a bench in it as well, just to mitigate against the risk that could be hazardous in a hazardous place. David Duvall's been doing this type of stuff for decades. Give him a call or head to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online. It's onebathandclosets.com.